Today, I'm going to read the story The Bedspread by Sylvia. And as I read, I'd like you to listen to the colours and the shapes that the old ladies used to decorate their bedspread. Once, in a long, long bed, lived two old sisters. They ate their meals in bed, washed their faces in bed, and at night they slept in their long, long bed.
"I'm fed up," complained Maud. "You're not half as fed up as I am," sulked Amelia. "Oh, yes, I am," insisted Maud. "It's that clock, ticking all the time." "No, it isn't," argued Amelia. "It's that wallpaper. Every rose is the same as the next." "No, it's not." "Yes, it is." "No, it's not." "And the worst thing of all," said Amelia, "is this boring white bedspread." Maud looked down at the boring white bedspread, and for once in her long life she agreed with Amelia. "Amelia," she said sharply, "if this white bedspread is so very boring, then we should decorate it." They rummaged under the bed until they found their old work baskets and opened them. They were full of scissors and thimbles, pins and needles, buttons and bodkins, and hooks and eyes. There were scraps of silk and satin, rolls of ribbon, lengths of lace. "Look!" exclaimed Maud, "my thimble still fits." "And so do my scissors," said Amelia, snipping excitedly at the air. Eagerly they threaded their needle, then stopped. They didn't know what to sew. They stared empty-faced at one another until Amelia had an idea. "Do you remember the house we lived in as children?" she asked breathlessly. "Do you remember the stitches we were taught at school?" asked Maud severely. "Let's embroider a picture of our old house," suggested Amelia brightly. "And let's see how many stitches we can work into it," agreed Maud. "And we'll each make a house, one at each end of the bedspread. Then it will be symmetrical." Maud measured the bedspread and marked the exact centre with a safety pin. "Now listen, Amelia," she said. "Your house mustn't come past this pin." Amelia nodded understandingly as she fumbled in the work basket on her knee. "And we'll begin at the front door," decided Maud. "A very good place to start, dear," smiled Amelia. And so they began to sew. Snickety-snack went the little silver scissors, and pickety-pick went the sharp needles as they cut and stitched, cut and stitched. There were 5 stone steps up to the front door, Amelia remembered, and a black cat called Ferdinand used to slink along the railings. "Don't make the railings crooked," warned Maud. But they were crooked, Maud. The doors of their house grew. Maud cut a neat oblong of purple velvet for her door and worked each panel in fine spider stitch. She made the railings of hairpin lace and crocheted a half moon for the fanlight over the door. Amelia made her door from the pocket of an old blue dress and cut the steps out of a pair of old fawn knickers. She found a brass button for the doorknob, a buckle for the letterbox, and a curtain ring for the knocker. And as she couldn't remember any of her stitches, she had to invent them as she went along. On Tuesday, Maud said, "Today we will make the windows, and don't forget the balcony on the first floor." All day they snipped and stitched, so that when it was time to go to sleep, the windows were finished. Maud cut squares of satin for her window panes and framed them in buttonhole stitch. She chose pearl cotton for the balcony rail and wove it into lozenges of knots with intercrossed bars. Amelia's windows were crooked and frayed and were framed in string that wouldn't lie flat. But flowers bloomed in window boxes on every floor, and on the balcony she stitched herself with Maud and their father and mother and all their brothers and sisters. On Wednesday, Maud said, "Today we shall make the walls." Maud
cut 326 calico bricks and whipped them into place with invisible stitches. "You haven't missed a single brick," marvelled Amelia. She was glad Maud couldn't see hers, for she hadn't built her wall of bricks. She'd only remembered the creeper full of flycatcher nests and the vine that was so easy to climb down secretly by moonlight. On Thursday, Maud said, "Today we shall stitch the roof." She found a tortoiseshell crochet hook and worked 10 rows of tiles in pineapple stitch. But Amelia only remembered the time when 3 peacocks from the nearby park had roosted on the roof and cried, "Help!" in the middle of the night. On Friday, Maud said, "Today we will build the chimneys." By the end of the day, Maud's chimneys stood to attention on top of the roof in bold bugle stitching. But Amelia's chimneys were bent, with ribbons of smoke twirling into the wind. On Saturday, Maud said, "Well, that's finished." "But we haven't done the garden yet," Amelia protested. "The garden was round the back," Maud reminded her. "I want to sow the garden," said Amelia stubbornly. So they agreed to make a garden each. Maud worked a pretty border of flowers in raised satin stitch, but Amelia's garden was like a jungle, with trees to climb and a swing in the apple tree. At the end of the day, Maud looked at the bedspread and smiled. "This time it really is finished," she said firmly. "Tomorrow is Sunday. We never sew on Sundays." So they went to sleep, happy, under their houses. On Sunday, Maud said, "Today we will turn the bedspread round, so that I can see your house and you can see mine." So they turned the bedspread carefully around and saw at once that it was not symmetrical at all. "I'm afraid my stitching isn't quite as tidy as yours," stammered Amelia guiltily. "I'd forgotten my stitches." "But your house is happy," said Maud rather sadly. "I'd forgotten the happiness." They turned the bedspread back again, so that Amelia could look at her own happy house and Maud at her beautifully stitched one. "We haven't done the sky," said Amelia suddenly. "No sewing on Sunday," said Maud. "A picture should have the sun in it," thought Amelia. "The sun shone every day when I was a child." So when Maud was snoozing after dinner, Amelia secretly cut out a golden circle of satin sunshine. Silently, she unfastened the safety pin and stitched the sun in its place. When Maud awoke, she noticed that her house was looking brighter, and she felt brighter too. She didn't scold Amelia for overlapping the sun onto her half, or even for sewing on Sunday. "So that's finished," said Maud on Monday. They put away their work baskets, and they fiddled and twitched, not knowing what to do with themselves. "There's plenty more space left on the bedspread," Amelia hinted, "and plenty of stitches we haven't used yet." So they took out their work baskets again, opened them, and once more began to sew. And this time they never stopped. Amelia remembered the muffin man, roasted chestnuts and hopscotch on the pavement. Maud remembered fern stitch, rice stitch and fishbone stitch. Then, when they were about 103 years old, the sisters died and their bedspread was put in a museum for all to see. On Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, it's hung so that Maud's house is the right way up. On Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, it's hung so that Amelia's house is the right way up. On Sundays, the museum is closed.